Okay, Ian, welcome. It's very kind of you to do this session this evening. Ian is a member of the SR7mm Group and has built all the points and the crossings for the expansion of their railway, as well as being commissioned to build track formations for others. He's a long-time user of Templot. I think you said to me it was 25 years. And he's designed a number of layouts and also worked on projects for himself, just for fun. So keen to promote prototypical track, he believes that this part of model railways is often overlooked, and it will obviously go through an introduction to track, and then he will be moving on to Templot. I've got a Wynne has started screen sharing. Ian, that's not coming from you, is it?
No, that's Martin.
Martin, if you're in the room, can I ask you not to screen share at the moment, because it's obviously coming over on screen to everybody instead of Ian's session. Can Martin hear me?
Okay.
That's lovely, thank you.
Martin.
Sorry about that. If somebody else tries to screen share, it will take over from the spotlight and the screen sharing that Ian's going to do. So just to reiterate, Ian will be starting off by talking about track, and then he'll move on to talking about Templot. So welcome, Ian, and thank you very much for joining us.
Firstly, good morning and good evening, and probably some good afternoons too to everybody. Thank you for joining me on this session of the Evening With series. If any of you have watched the videos from the special interest groups that we've had done so far, there have been 3 of those, of which James, I know, was part of the first one, and some of the guys here tonight were also involved with those. You're probably aware that I'm really keen on having track work look as prototypical and as correct as possible. We all know there is a time and a place for items like Pico points and Pico track, but when you're building a really nice model railway, why spoil it with having track work that isn't prototypical? And in this day and age, with laser cutting and with Templot, which Jackie mentioned I've been using for 25 years, there's no reason why anybody now cannot produce better looking track. And we've probably all seen videos of various railways, Pete Waterman's Leamington Spa, for example, Heatham Lodge, which is obviously the biggest railway in Britain, my very own SR7mm Group layout that I'm a member of, and others that have got hand-built track work. So the reason we decided to do this session was to discuss track work more in depth a little bit, but to give people a bit of an insight in the basics of getting to grips with Templot for if you've never used it before. But going back to the first part of this evening regarding track, I feel that
birth numbers are rising, and the team are keen to spread the message to as many.
Can I ask whoever's unmuted to actually mute again, please?
Thank you. For having learnt to build track myself in the 70s at part of the Model Railway Club at school, when I got back into the hobby, I wanted to carry on that skill set and improve it. And I've learnt quite a lot in the last 12 years since I started building track in O gauge and scale 7. And I'd like to promote that amongst other members in the guild as well as others outside of the guild to show you that it's not as difficult or as scary as you think it might be. So that's the basis for this. I'll then move on to, like I say, giving you a quick brief overview of how to get started with Templot, because I know there are others out there that are quite not fearful, but concerned that it's quite a steep learning curve. And it's only as steep as you want it to be. You can start off with Templot and just learn some basics and get to know how it works and the functionality before you move on to more complex formations. And I'll take you through a few of those steps and also show some more complex formations like the one behind me, which was designed and then built on from a Templot project that I did for the SR7mm Group. So firstly, I'd like to know, has anybody got any questions that they might have regarding track in general or prototypical features or the prototype?
Ian, I've got a question here from John Garder about check rails.
Okay.
So John is asking, do check rails serve any purpose in assisting long wheelbase locos around tight bends in O gauge? I've been told that some locos simply climb over them.
I think the biggest problem there would likely to be putting check rails on curves that are quite tight radii for a long wheelbase locomotive. So if you're looking at anything round about 4 feet, a check rail may not actually do the job it is intended to do on the prototype, because you would have to physically move the check rail further away from the stock rail to get the long wheelbase loco or whatever the stock is around that curve. If you're looking at something with a 6 foot radius, 6'6" radius, including a check rail in that build is actually quite good, because you can make it to be a prototypical dimension measurement away from the stock rail, so it actually does work like a real check rail. I've put 3 on in certain places on the SR7mm Group layout, and they do function. They do keep the trains and the stock over to the right side, and you can actually hear the flanges scraping along the back of the rail as it goes around the piece of curve with the check rail on it. But if you've got tight radii, you've got to take into account and allow for the fact that if you've got a long wheelbase loco, you've got what's called a chord of where the front wheel is, the middle wheel, and the rear wheel on that curve, and you have to work out where the check rail would then have to lie. So it's probably not a good thing to put on something that's very tight curve. You know, I know there's quite a few layouts on the forum at the moment, and Jeffrey Godin promotes tight radius curves layouts and set track. Using check rails on that, I don't think would be very beneficial and wouldn't work very well either.
And John's actually said he's limited to approximately 7'6" width.
Yeah.
Where the layout can go in an international steel container. So it obviously doesn't leave much room to play with.
No, in that instance, I'd dispense with check rails because to an extent, you're fighting a losing battle. It would have to be spaced so far away from the stock rail, it wouldn't look right. I mean, that's my own opinion. I mean, the only way to do it is to test it, but I think it's not something that's worth doing on something that's such a tight radius, because if he's going around 7'6", he's going to be looking at 3.5 feet radius maximum, really, isn't he?
Okay, thank you for that.
It's okay.
Dave Robinson has posted a question saying, do you have experience with dual gauge track work?
I personally, I don't, but there has been some very nice dual gauge track work built. Funnily enough, I was looking at something the other day, an Australian railway, which is triple gauge, which somebody was looking to model, and they were doing a very nice job of it. There is one of our guild members who's currently got his layout on the guild forum, which is dual gauge. That's Tim Strangleman, isn't it? And he's doing dual gauge with a little narrow gauge within a standard gauge on his brewery layout. But personally, I haven't built any dual gauge, but you just approach it the same way as you would approach standard gauge. The only difference being you've got an extra rail to think about. So if you've got a normal point, say just a standard straight right-hand point, you've just got to take into account you've got to put the extra rail in for the other gauge. But it shouldn't be anything more complicated than just building a standard point, but with an extra rail in, and you're just having an extra crossing V and an extra switchblade, for example. But that's maybe something I should do at some point, just to just to show in the future for one of the special interest group meetings.
I'm sure Tim would help with that, because as you say,
Yeah.
7mm narrow gauge as well as the standard 7mm fine scale.
Yeah.
And one more from Jeff Langham is, if you're building track, how do you check clearances for stock?
Ah, right. Well, that's very good actually, because there is a functionality within Templot that allows you to put a vehicle on the track, and you can select the dimensions, you can select the length of the vehicle, and you can select the bogie centers. So if you've got a main line with with a curve, with two curves, you can put one on each curve and make sure that you're not going to get any clearance issues. So I can touch on that later on when we look at Templot itself. But going back to that as well, if you look at the Guild manual, there's information in the Guild manual or in the Guild wiki about clearances and items like that. Certainly for things like platform edges and bridges and buildings and structures as well.
Okay. Any other questions on track work or building track from anybody?
No. Okay. Right. So very quickly then, just a recap of track and building track. I'll start off with a piece of plain track. So this is a length of plain track, a 60-foot panel that I built a while ago. I'll tell you what, I'll get rid of the background for this.
I was just going to say, it keeps disappearing into your background image.
There we go. Okay, so some photographs for everyone's amusement. So a piece of a 60-foot panel I built a while ago. This basically just for a test of using some very nice walnut sleepers with exact scale chairs and code 125 rail on a piece of actually this is a kind of like a plasticized paper. It was a test really more than anything, just to see if it would adhere and see how it worked, as opposed to just using ordinary paper or getting a print done on paper at a print company. So this was a Templot plan, 60-foot panel based on the LMS practice, printed off, and then the sleepers glued to it, then the rails with the chairs glued in the pertinent places as well. And also from one of the special interest group sessions, we did a point, which you might, if you excuse the wire, if you watch the videos from the special interest group evenings, you'll have seen this point being built. And once again, on a Templot plan, you can see it there. Following prototype practice. Just have to excuse the temporary switch tie bar, because this is just a test build, just to make sure that my first scale 7 point was working okay. But building, like I said, building track isn't something that you should be fearful about. Not today. When you have companies like Intensio and Greenwood Models who can laser cut your track plan, then it becomes a lot easier in terms of taking something from Templot, for example, to either Intensio or Greenwood, who will do that for you. You get the jigsaw pieces back as for your sleepers, for your track layout, and it goes down exactly as it is in Templot. I mean, I haven't used it yet, but I'm going to look at doing it. I know that Tim Humphreys, who's one of our guild members and a Scale 7 member, he's just started building a layout and has used the Intensio model. And it's I think it's very exciting, some of the developments that are currently happening regarding permanent way and building permanent way. Martin Wynne of Templot, who's been developing Templot now for over 40 years, I think. Martin might be able to confirm that, or roughly. He's looking at the moment of a base where you can actually plug the chairs into the sleepers directly. So, and Templot will allow you to do that. So there's functionality being introduced all the time with permanent way design, with permanent way manufacture, with permanent way building, much like our models are improving, or the technology is allowing us to do things with models with 3D printing now. The same is kind of like starting to permeate within permanent way and track building and points and crossings as well. So I think that's pretty much everything we need to say roughly about track building, unless anybody else has come up with anything they'd like to ask, because I don't have any specific particular techniques that I use, and I find building track is a lot better and easier and less stressful at times than building locomotive kits or wagon kits, because you're not following somebody else's instructions. You're manufacturing something or building something in a way that suits your own skills and in a way that suits your own way of building models that you understand. You get your own system of doing things. Even though there are guides on what you should do and when, I think building track is great because you're not having to continually refer to notes, not having to continually refer to another person's instructions that you may not necessarily be able to figure out correctly because they've been written in such a way. And I think, and I say the way I build track it suits me. It's how I'm comfortable building track, and it's what I've learned to do. And certainly from anybody else that wants to start building track, you'll find building your first point seems to take ages. But once you get to have built 2, 3, 4, or 5, you find that process speeds up a lot, and you find yourself more comfortable in what you have to do. And I find it very enjoyable. In fact, sometimes quite therapeutic, because you can just sit there and your mind goes and you're just threading chairs on sleepers, and just putting things onto a plan with a bit of music in the background. So it's quite enjoyable. And like I say, certainly in terms of doing something that looks a little bit more prototypical to enhance your own railway is something we should all be looking to do. One thing, sorry.
3 more things for you, Ian.
Okay, yeah.
A point of note from Richard Mills that the York Group test track, which will actually be at Doncaster, has one circuit that is dual gauge, no points, but of course the power positive and the negative have to be sorted, so 2 rails are positive and 1 is negative. And so that's just worth knowing, and if anybody's interested in dual gauge track, that will be on the test track at Doncaster show.
I was only thinking a while ago of how would I do dual gauge for fine scale and scale 7, because there's only 1 millimeter difference, so you couldn't necessarily use one standard stock rail unless you had the 32mm one side and the scale 7 the other side, but you could do it with them interlaced. So you could run 2 trains running in the same direction on the same track. But that's something else I'm going to have a look at and do at some point, using wider sleepers to compensate for the extra width you'd need for the 2 pieces of track.
Brilliant. And Derek Mundy has said, does anyone yet make slab and bracket chairs?
Hi Derek. C&L used to. I know C&L used to do metal ones, cast brass ones, because I think I might still have some somewhere. Let me just check my box of goodies. C&L used to. I can definitely remember that, because I've used some myself in the past. No, I don't have any here. I think they're at the SR7mm Group for the project we've got on for this coming winter. But yeah, the Great Western style slab and bracket chair was manufactured by C&L for a while. I don't know if it's not in Phil's range at the moment, now that Phil Reed has taken over, or if he's looking to have it upgraded and replaced. But they certainly were available for a while when Pete Llewellyn was looking after C&L, when it was under his auspices.
Okay, and a final one before you move on. We've got a question asking, what sources of information would you recommend?
Okay, right. I suppose it all depends upon initially what railway and what era you're looking to model. No, this is a question for you, Jackie. How do I minimize my screen when I'm spotlit?
I could just take
Oh,
your...
there. Okay, I've got it. Figured it out. Don't worry.
Got it.
One thing I have used personally is a LMS society page, and I'll just get this loaded up. If I share screen, go here. So this is available online from the lmssociety.org.uk page. Ooh. And it'll take you through the drawings from the my screen keeps going black. What's going on?
That's it. It's come
Sorry,
up.
I think my computer's having a fit while I'm looking at this and doing Zoom at the same time. Yeah, definitely having a fit. Let me see if I can. So this is the 1928 LMS Permanent Way Drawing Series. There's 143 pages. And this is, very useful if you're modeling pre-nationalization bullhead for LMS and LNER, because they were basically the same standards after 1928. Great Western obviously had their own standards and stayed with their own standards. But mainly, if it's pre-grouping or post-grouping, you should be able to find some information from one of the line societies. So I was asked this a few weeks ago by somebody about Midland Railway chairs and Great Northern Railway chairs. And I said the best thing you can do is contact the Midland Railway Society and the Great Northern Railway Society, because they might have the information. Post nationalisation in 1940s, there is a book which Paul Plowman, who's one of our members, he's the Conrep in Queensland, mentioned to me, and it's a book by what is it? Permanent Way Institution, and that is, I'll find it if it comes up. Page not found. Here we go. It's this one. They do a book all about bullhead track. And apparently it's a really good book. It's about £49. But if you go to the pwi.org website, you should be able to find out. Shop. Let's try shop, shall we? Silly Ian. Books. Here you go. Understanding track engineering. They do one on semaphore signalling, understanding rails and rail welding, switch and crossing maintenance, design of railway switch. So, Permanent Way Institute is the place to go, guys. Certainly, and this is the one, design of railway tracking bullhead rail, £36. So there's quite a few books there that will be of interest. But don't forget this, like I said, this is mainly a lot of it bullhead post nationalisation. Of course, the flat bottom is post nationalisation, really. But that is one place to go. And what we'll do is we'll make sure that these two web addresses are included in the video when the video is edited, so that they're there for a reference.
We've also had a message from Murray in New Zealand saying that, let me just get that, LNWR Society has produced a booklet in A3. Right,
that's good.
James, who obviously is with us, said slab and bracket chairs are available from Off the Rails, which is a 3D printing company on Shapeways.
Yeah, that's
so
David. Right, that's David Rayner, who's a Scale 7 member. Yeah.
So slab and bracket chairs, Derek, Off the Rails, 3D printing company on Shapeways. And then we've got Martin has mentioned for mixed gauge point work, you must use the same wheel flangeway standards for both gauges through the crossings. It doesn't work to use 00 wheels for 7mm narrow gauge if you want to mix it with standard gauge.
Yeah,
so that's a really useful tip for people who are thinking.
that's a very good point. Yes,
Yeah,
great
thanks,
point.
Martin. And then Graham's just said that he'd quite like to move on now to the talk about Templot, and then that will probably generate more questions.
Yeah, it's a good time to move on to Templot. Just before we do, in terms of track design and London Northwestern, I'm still waiting for the Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway Society to produce the book on Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway track. And apparently what I've heard is they keep finding new material. So it's kind of like, I'm still waiting for what I want to do. Okay, Templot then.
Can I just ask one more? Sorry.
Sure, you can. Yeah, of course you can, Jackie.
John's just said, to be perverse, does anyone make the early type of Great Western Railway chairs which had inner rail chocks instead of the normal later external rail chocks?
Short answer, as far as I'm aware, no. The inside keyed Great Western Rail chairs, I don't think anyone's produced them for certainly scale 7. Oh, sorry, scale 7mm. So that would be something you would have to look at, finding drawings of and getting some CAD work done for somebody to produce them as 3D prints, for example. Yeah, it's one of the. Great Western was not the only railway to use inside keyed rail as well. There was another couple of railways early on that did the same thing.
Okay.
Okay. Templot then. So for those of you not familiar with Templot, it's been developed by Martin Wynne, who's with us this evening. Thank you for joining us, Martin, and hello. I've been using it for 25 years, and I find it. Where's the? I can't find my screen share now, Jackie.
Very bottom. If you go to the bottom of your screen.
Yeah, I can't get it. Hold on. Oh no, why can't I get my screen share? I can see it at the bottom, but I can't get it because my cursor bar's in the way. Got it. Yeah, just to reposition. So I'll just open Templot. Come on. Here we go. So this is Templot. For those of you not familiar with it, I'm just going to minimize it slightly because I've got the screen share icon at the top from Zoom. So just bear with me for a moment. There we go.
There's nothing showing at the moment, Ian.
Nothing showing.
It just says Ian has started screen sharing.
Oh.
You might, if you take your cursor up to the very, very top, sometimes you get new share.
Yeah.
Try that.
Templot share. You got that?
Not at the moment.
No, my Zoom's doing silly, funny things because I've only got me minimized. I can't get Zoom back to be I can't get Zoom back to be full screen. Let's do that. Stop share. Right, stop share. Let's try again. Screen share. Templot share. You still not got Templot?
No.
Ah. Okay. This might be a problem then. This might be something that we haven't thought about or tested. Let me try screen share again. Still
There we
can't see it.
go. Yay.
Yay, got it now.
That's
Yep.
there now.
Phew, that's a relief. Right. Yeah, I don't know what's going on yet. You can see I've got a little like square box of gibberish in the middle of my screen. If anyone
on.
can see that.
Yeah, it's not on ours, Ian.
Is it
No.
not? Oh, that's all right then. Good. Okay, so sorry about that, guys, and lassies. Opening Templot, you get a basically this is your active screen for building your track. Let me just do this again, just so I can see everything at the top. And I've got a green box in the middle as well, which is disturbing. So you open Templot and you get a box that I'm moving around here, which is the information box about the piece of track that is currently active, which you can see here, which is a curved piece of track with a point in it. The other box you see on your screen or on your page is the zoom pan box, and you use this for panning left and right, cursor up and down, and you can zoom in and out. So all fairly standard type of operation for moving things about a screen. If you press the left mouse on your button, you get a nice arrow cursor with 4 points, and you can move your item around the screen quite happily. So we've got a piece of track. It's curved and it's got a point in it. But the other thing that this box here tells us, the information box, is that this is currently T55. Now this is basically like a holding gauge, a holding piece of track that Martin has developed into.
I think it's only showing a little bit on the screen. It's only pointing a bit of track. It's not showing the rest.
You can't see this box I'm moving around?
No.
No. We can only see the point.
You can't see the box over the point?
Oh.
No.
Oh.
It was there, and I think there might be a little bit of it on, there it is, now we can see it.
Still see it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Right, okay. So here in this information box, we've got T55. And that's a track gauge that Martin made just as a holding standard that Templot fires up with. So the first thing you need to do really is decide what track gauge what you want to use for your layout. And as we're looking at O gauge fine scale, if you go to gauge, can we all see this box?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, so I've moved down to 32.0 GOGF, and there we are. We now have a point and a piece of curved track, and the information box here is showing GOG F, so a 32mm gauge or guild fine scale track standard. So if I move that box there, can you still see it?
No.
It's disappeared now.
Right, and now you can.
Yep.
Yes.
Right, it seems that for some reason I've got a green box on my screen that I need to put everything in, because now the point's gone, hasn't it?
Yep.
God, what's going on with this? I have this green. I say I've got this green box, which means none of you can see the header at the top with all the drop down menus, can you?
Nope.
Nope.
Right. That's a pain, isn't it?
Can you zoom out at all when it's on screen?
Ian, you can't maximize the size of that green box, can you?
It's just changed.
That's it.
I've now got the green box on the outside of. I think what happened was when Templot fires up, you get the box that says it's Templot, and the green box has gone to that and stayed. So
now we've got everything.
Now we've got everything. Oh dear. Can I go to sleep now?
No.
Okay, so we've got our piece of track. We've now got gauge or guild fine scale, and in this box you can see the smallest radius is 1 1,313mm or 52 inches. But just for the sake of going back to some basics and making things easy, let's first of all make this piece of track straight. So we select geometry, and at the top here we've got straight. And there we now have a piece of straight track. I want to remove the point from the piece of track. So I go to Template, and in the drop-down menu here, Convert to Plane Track. And there we have a length of plane track. Okay, everybody happy with that?
Yep.
Now, I want to keep that piece of track, so I'm going to save it. So I go to Program, and in the drop-down menu here, Store and Background. And then I get a notification box up that gives me some information, and I will click this little box at the bottom because I don't want to see this message again, and then go Continue. Now that the template is stored, you can see it's gone to be green sleepers with blue rail, and it now has a number 1, which is template 1, and PL001, which is its actual identification. The next thing I can do is click on this piece of track, and I can select Copy to the control, and it now copies it over the original one. If I go to Shift and Join, I can now, with the cursor, left mouse click and move this piece of rail along and join it to the one at the end. I'll do that again, like that, and then just shut that off. If I now pull the screen over, you can see that those two pieces of rail, those two pieces of track are joined. And I now want to go back to Program and Store and Background. So now I have two templates that I've made and stored them, and they're joined together. To make a double track, I can now click on this template again, select white to control, which now makes it active again, which is why the sleepers have gone brown and the rail has gone black. And in Tools, I can select Make Double Track. So you have Make Double Track on TS for turn outside, Make Double Track on MS for main side. And on the template, you can see this line with this box. The box on this side of the piece of track indicates that is the main side. So if I go back to Tools and Make Double Track on main side, it now gives me this option. And I can select the width between the two pieces of rail, two pieces of track. So I'm going to go to 6 foot, which is the standard 6 foot way spacing. Do Continue. And now we have another piece of track, a prototypical 6 feet away from the first piece of track. And then back to Program, Store and Background. All okay so far? Any questions? Oh, that's a resounding no. Excellent.
There's a few to ask at the end, probably.
Yeah, okay.
In terms of different bits of info coming up.
Sure. So we've got 3 lengths of track now, 3 lengths of plain track. Martin posted something on the forum last night, which I saw, which I'm going to show now, which is a new addition to this version of Templot. And there's Draw New and Make. So if I click on here, and then with my mouse, I left mouse click and hold, and then drag along, I can draw a line. As soon as I let go, I get a piece of track, which I think is really good. It's a really good way of just introducing a new piece of track. So I'll just redo that, get rid of that one. I can't move the box because it's there. That's it. It's outside the active area. So I'll just do that again for you. I'll draw a line at an angle. And there we go, length of track. It's that simple. Now the other thing is, if I'm going to delete some of these, just to tidy things up a little bit. I'm going to move this one. And then store that. So I'm now going to go back to doing some track with lines. So I can draw a line again. Got a piece of track. I can draw another line. And I've got a piece of track. And no matter what angle you draw the second piece of track at, or whatever angle you draw the line up, it will orientate the piece of track to be parallel to the first one. It will join it together, so it's carrying on in a straight line. If I now want to make this piece of track larger, I go to Tools. Oh, sorry, no, apologies. I go to Action, select Mouse Actions, Control and Geometry, go down to Adjust Plane Track Length, and then left mouse click, and you can see the double-headed arrow. So I can go larger or smaller. I make it larger and then let go and stop. With the swell function here, I can now make this a curve. But watch what happens when I make this a curve, because it swells the track from the center. It's not very prototypical, is it? So that's one thing you can't do when you've got a piece of track attached to another piece of track.
Ian, there's just a quick question from Nigel Stevens saying which number version is the new facility on?
Well, I'm running 233D for Delta. I think that is without referring back to the Guild website, I think that's the one that Martin mentioned in his post to me last night. So that's the version I'm running, 233D for Delta. So if I want to make this piece of rail, I keep saying rail, sorry, this piece of track a nice curve, I go back to Action, select Control and Geometry, adjust curving radius, and then I get up and down arrows and I can curve it that way, or I can curve it that way. And as you see on the information box on the left hand side here, you can see the radius is changing as I move the mouse and the cursor. There is also the shortcut box here, curve, and I can do it that way. So I get myself a nice curve and do stop. And now I want this to be double track. So once again, I go to Tools, make double track turn outside this time because the box is that side. Put that back to 6 foot and continue. And there we get double track curved with a nice radius. Sure.
Ian, you're telling us about radius.
Yeah.
You've got smallest radius now in that box on the left.
Yes.
Dave Robinson's just asking, can you type into that the radius you want?
Ah, right. Okay. When you select curve here, let me just move this piece of, I'll just move this piece of track. Let's do this. Let's move that. I'll just move that to there. So if I click on curve here, in this box, where the value is here in blue, you can see now I've got enter data directly. So if I click on that, I could make this 2000 millimeters, 2 meters, and hit return, hit enter or hit return. Okay, and there you are. So if you want to set, if you know that you want a 6 foot radius, which is 72 inches, which is, somebody's going to tell me how much that is in millimeters quickly. No, okay.
Sorry, Ian, what dimension do you want in millimeters?
72 inches,
1828.
1828. Thank you, James. And there's your 6 foot radius curve. And as you can see the box here, 72 inches. Okay.
Excellent.
And
Martin has posted that the new facility is on all versions since 233B.
B for Bravo. Thank you, Martin.
Yep. It's just for anybody who can't see the chat box. That's
Yeah,
just
I couldn't remember from his message last night on, and I say on his post on the forum, whether it was a B or a D, having slept since then, and you know, but yeah, hopefully, anyway, I mean, anybody using Templot now really should be on 233D anyway, because you get the automatic updates. So you get the notifications to do the automatic update when you log into or open up Templot. So this is just, I say, just a basic overview of just making some track and just putting track on a plan and just playing to see what you can do and what you can't do. So I'm going to just get rid of that. So I'm going to do a new template now again. So I select template, new template, and you can see on this box, I've got some options here. So I can do plain track, or I could select a turnout. So I've got left hand for left hand, right hand for right hand. If you're doing Great Western, you can have joggle stock rails as an option. And then in this grey box here, in the drop-down box on the arrow, you can select the type of point you want. So the letter refers to the type of switch blades, and the number refers to the crossing V. So I'm going to leave that as a B6 because it's a nice size point to start with. It's going to be straight. And if I press OK, we now have a straight point to B6. I'm just going to move this. Actually, let me move it over to the corner. Over to here. Okay, so I've got it so that the end of the rails is right on this vertical line, which is our 0 millimeter point for measuring. You can see this B6 point is actually over 450 millimeters long. So it's quite, you know, compared to a picot point, these points now are getting quite long, and that's something you have to take into account when you're designing track and when you start looking at planning on what you would like to build. I'm just going to reduce the overall template length so that we come down to these blue marks here, which indicate where the rail ends would be. So zooming in, these blue lines are ends of the rail for measuring length. And we have the same at the other end here, now disappeared slightly. And you can see the rectangular outline of our tie bar, as well as these white lines here, which indicate where the end, the tips of the switch blades lie. And for those of you that are purists, you can see the same blue lines here that indicating where your rail, your brakes will be in the rail for your switch blades and your stock rails, as they would be on a prototypical point as well. And then again, of course, there where the turnout rails become the wing rails for the crossing V. So we've got a nice B6 point, and I'm going to store that. We want to keep that. And I'm now going to take this length of rail and join it to the end of the point. So we wipe it to we select wipe to control, shift and join, left mouse click and up and join. And then I can go to program again and restore. So now we've got our point and our piece of straight track. The next thing I want to do is I've decided I would like a crossover. So I can now select this point again, select wipe to control, go to tools, and in the drop down box here we have make ordinary crossover, which I select. And once again I get an option of setting the track spacing. I'll keep it at 6 feet and hit continue, and there we have a crossover. And I will once again now store that template and get rid of that. And because I like this piece of straight track, I'm going to select it again, do copy to the control. So I've copied it, shift and join, and then once again left mouse click and drag it all the way over here and add it to the end of that point. And then once again program store and background because it's a new template. And there we have a crossover with 2 lengths of rail. Any questions on this so far? Deathly silence. Excellent. That means everybody's happy.
Well, a couple of things, Ian,
okay.
I can ask, please.
Yeah.
So a question, can you use Templot on a Mac?
Yes, I believe you can. On the Templot forum that Martin runs, I know somebody has been using a Mac for their Templot designs, and I think they've been using a virtual machine, a virtual Windows machine on their Mac to run Templot. And I'm not sure. Martin would be able to confirm probably that. I think somebody was developing Templot to run on a Mac without it being a virtual machine, and one of the other guys has been doing it on I can't remember if it's Linux or Unix. I've not been across some of the developments in terms of what other Templot users have
You don't need a virtual machine. It's much easier and cheaper to use crossover.
Right. Who is that?
That's Martin speaking.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you for that.
A company called Codeweavers make a program called Crossover, which will allow you to run Templot on a Mac.
Brilliant.
If you use the discount code Tangent in uppercase, you get 25% off. It costs about £30 then.
Excellent.
You don't have to buy Windows and Parallels and all the rest of it.
That's good. See, that's something I've not been across because I've not been, I don't use the forum Templot forum as much as I probably should do, really, and I don't keep across the Mac stuff.
The thing is, if people have questions, the obvious thing to do is to ask them on the Templot forum.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Someone asked earlier about converting 2 meters to inches.
Yeah, that was me. Yeah, I was just asking for a quick.
All you need to do is type a prefix letter I and then the size in inches. So for 6 foot radius, you just put I 72.
Oh, okay.
Convert it to metric.
So if I do it with this, for example, no,
yeah.
Hold on. If I do curve, and I want to do that, so I just type I
72, and you'll get 6 foot radius.
Brilliant. That's a new one on me. Thank you, Martin.
If you go back to look at it, it'll now say the metric equivalent. If you
Yeah,
go-
it's here in the information box,
Yeah.
isn't it, on the left hand
Yeah.
side? No, that's really good, Martin. That's something I see. That's something I've just learned tonight.
There are lots of other prefix letters that you can use for all sorts of conversions.
Right, brilliant.
There's a note about it on the data entry form.
Right, okay. I'll have to go and have a look at that and save a copy for myself to familiarise myself with it. Well,
Yeah.
as I've just done that, how about I now do this?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I was just moving that piece of track that we've just curved.
Yeah. I'll stop interrupting you now. Okay.
No, it's okay. Thank you, Martin. Your input is greatly appreciated. Thank you very much.
Am I at a suitable volume or the right sort of?
Yeah, you're perfect. Perfect.
Fine, thank you, Martin.
You can't have a picture of me because I don't have a camera on this
Yes,
computer.
I saw that. Not to worry. It's fine.
Okay.
Okay, I've got a couple more that you may be coming on to.
Yeah.
The first one is how do you create a transition curve? And the second one is that this is all being done in 2 dimensions, but what happens about 3-dimensional track, in particular, the beginnings of a gradient? John G's particular interest is the transition from level track for a climb to a Great Western Railway coaling stage.
The simple answer to that is you design it in the flat in the 2D, and you just have to incorporate the gradient into your baseboards, because if you're building even if you're using Pico track or CNL fine scale track or Permawave track, it will flex enough to go up a gradient. In fact, there are some, if you go onto the Guild website, if you're a Guild member, and look at the layouts thread or topics and go to the SR7mm group, you'll see there are some photos on there where we have some gradients, because there are multiple levels on the SR7mm railway where they all come together. So we've got gradients meeting each other. So I'll I've in the past I've just designed it in the flat, and in fact before we finish the session tonight, I will show a track plan that I've done for the SR7mm Group Railway, where you can see tracks overlaid on each other, but they're not actually lying. It's not actually flat crossings. It's one set of track above another set of track. But I've just designed everything in Templot on the 2D, and I've taken into account gradients when we've actually made the baseboards. Transition curves, though, if that answers okay. Transition curves. Let's grab this, and I'm going to move this over here temporarily. I'm going to make that straight, and I'm going to lengthen it. So I go back to Action, Control and Geometry, adjust plane track length and make it a lot longer. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. So I want to make a transition. So we go to Geometry, and in the drop-down box here, you can see Transition Curve. So we have a number of options here. We can have a shrinking transition, which is where the transition gets tighter. An expanding transition, where the curve starts off tight and goes larger. We can do an S-curve transition, so nice S-curves on the railways that most of our railways have. We can go from a straight to a curve, and we can go from a curve to a straight. So I'll select S-curve expanding transition for this instance. There we are. And now you can see I've got a arrowhead and an item that looks like a closed parentheses, which is normally the key second to the right of the letter P on your keyboard. That kind of image. And when I go to geometry now,
in Templot, it's called the goalpost.
Goalpost. Thank you. Okay, that's another new one. I'll have to remember that for next time. If I go to geometry, sorry, not geometry. If I go to Action and adjust curving radius now, you can see I've got the box has come up for the curving, and we're doing curving second transition radius. So the second transition radius appears after the goalpost. The straight part is before the arrowhead. So if I just now adjust the curving radius of the second transition, you can see everything starts to go with it to the right of the arrowhead. But you can see the end past the goalpost is gradually going tighter and tighter, whereby the area between the arrowhead and the goalpost isn't going as tight. It's gradually getting tighter. Now, if I go to action again and select control and geometry, I can go down to here and you can see there's move transition start and adjust transition length. So if we adjust the transition length, the goalpost will move with the cursor. So we can reduce the transition length, or we can expand the transition length. If I go back to action again and now go down to a move transition start, I can reduce the straight part of this piece of track, or I can move it the other way. And as you'll see, as the start moves, the goalpost is going with it because we're not actually changing that particular length. Okay. And now I want to make a double track, and I'm going to put it on the main side because the little box is this side of the piece of track. So back to tools, make double track on main side, continue, dialog box. It's telling you it's a transition curve. Do you want to continue? And you can do an automatic adjust, which I find works very, very well. And there we have double track with two pieces of track with transition curves.
You played for hours with it, didn't you?
So, sorry, Jackie?
I said you could play for hours learning this. It's just
Oh, I have done. I've had 25 years worth of hours. And I said, just think how many years of fun Martin's had in developing it.
amazing.
For our benefit.
1979 was when I started.
There you go. I knew he'd have the answer. That's 43 years ago, Martin. Wow.
Yeah,
That's
well,
when I was in hospital having what was left of my appendix taken out.
it's the reason I'm feeling a bit tired at the moment. Can I just add a point? When you're adjusting the length of the transition curve and the position of it.
Yes, of course.
That if you click on that red triangle on the mouse action panel, you can swap instantly between adjusting one and the other. And in fact, you can do that swap in quite a lot of other functions as well, like swapping from adjusting the first one. You click the yellow and the yellow triangle there. It'll swap to the opposite function.
Oh yeah, brilliant.
And the same when you're adjusting the radii, you can swap from adjusting the first or the second by clicking that. And you can click that in several other places in the program.
Yeah. Oh, see, another thing I've found, you've told me I can find to play with.
Yeah. Well, it's all written about on the Templot website, but of course no one ever reads it.
Well, yeah, it's one of those things because I think there's so much. Sometimes there's so much to take in, isn't there? And what might have been there X years ago is I've probably forgotten because it's like what I was saying about building track. I think everyone finds their own particular way of doing something, don't they? And although there may be shortcuts, you get used to doing something a particular way.
Yeah, I keep finding things in Templot that I've forgotten all about.
Yeah, I do. They're usually my mistakes.
I'll stop interrupting you because it's your program, not mine.
No, it's fine, Martin. I say your input is really helpful because it's not just helping me; it's helping other people as well understand and see the functionality and what is in the program and how it works and how involved it is and how it's been developed over the years. I think it's really, really good.
One thing you might want to do is press the not key on the keyboard.
Which
the not key, that's the one below the escape key at the top left-hand corner of the keyboard. The not key, it's below escape.
Yeah.
To the left of number 1.
Yeah.
It will remove that bolding on
Oh,
the
yes.
most recently stored template.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's a good point, actually. Yeah.
It's easier to see what you're doing if you don't have that on.
Yeah. As Martin's just mentioned, the most recently stored template that you've made and stored appears effectively in bold, much like you can have a bold font for anything you're writing. So hitting the key underneath the escape key and to the left of the number 1 on your keyboard gets rid of that highlighting.
Yeah, it's called the not key.
Not key.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you said that, I was looking for a key that had not written on it, and I was like, I haven't got one of those.
It's that symbol on the key that looks like a lopsided L.
Yes.
It means
not.
An
An L on its side and reversed. Yeah. Okay.
Not,
brilliant.
It means not in mathematics.
Oh, is it? Oh, right. Okay. Right. I was never good at maths. You can tell.
Also, you've got all the template labels on.
Yes.
Tend to get in the way while you're just dabbling about. You can remove those by pressing the end key on the keyboard, which is over it. That's above the arrow keys on the right hand part of the keyboard. That's it. Yeah,
I have a different keyboard layout because I've got a strange laptop.
Oh, right.
It might not necessarily be in the same place on the right hand side, but the other option, of course, is if you want to lose the name labels, you go to trackpad and select hide name labels is the other one, isn't it?
It always tells you which key to use. But
yeah, end key. Yeah.
No, it's much quicker than going into the menu.
But for those beginners that are with us, it's probably easier to show, because we've showed them the drop downs, they can see everything as well, can't they, Martin? And then they can get to learn. Hopefully.
Yeah, it's just there's so much in those menus, it can be a bit confusing.
It can, yes, yeah.
Okay, can I ask another question?
Of course you can.
Can you Templot to design narrow gauge track, please? That's for Andrew Jones.
Okay, we go to gauge.
You won't find narrow gauge in the list because there are far too many options and sizes for me to, but there's a new feature which you might like to look at.
Yeah.
Forget that list, Ian.
Okay.
You won't find narrow gauge there.
Yeah.
If you go into, I've forgotten where it is myself now. Hang on. Hang on a minute.
I mean, one option would be to do a custom track, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I suppose it depends upon what the gauge would be and knowing how many sleepers per panel length per foot you would need as well.
Yeah, there's an option to automatically pull in a narrow gauge template, but I've forgotten where I put it in the menu.
Not to worry. That's something. I mean, that's something we can put on the guild forum, for example, Martin.
Yeah, that's getting a bit complicated, actually.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, what I've decided to do for narrow gauge is to have a library of ready-made templates.
Yes.
And a menu option for pulling them in when you want them.
Yeah.
Because setting up a preset for all the narrow gauge options is just out of the question. There are so many.
Yeah.
And when you ask people what size flangeways and so on they're using, you get 97 different answers. So it's not possible. But what I have done is made a few preset templates.
Yeah.
And there is an option to pull them straight in, but I can't remember whether it's actually in the latest version yet. I'm going to be releasing a new version tomorrow anyway. So
right. Okay.
I'll
look out for that then.
Yeah, but the only real changes in it are some stuff related to 3D printing of the timbers.
Yeah. Okay.
The rest of it's all the same, really.
Right. Well, I'll look forward to seeing that tomorrow. Then when I log in, I'm just quickly going to delete some of these templates just to quickly do something else to show those that are with us and want to know about Templot. So if I select this box up here, I can now, if I left mouse click and hold my mouse, I can drag a box around and all those templates that have now gone red are effectively grouped together. So if I go to group here at the top and click group, I can go all the way down to the bottom and delete group templates. Yes, delete, and they've gone. As easy as that. And I'm going to quickly do the same again here. So on the box there, around those, and group, delete group templates. Okay.
Bear in mind, Ian, that there's no undo on that.
Yes.
So
Yeah, you can't go back and put them back. Yeah.
if you think you might need them again, it's a good idea to save them as a group first.
Yes.
And then delete them.
Yeah.
And then you can get the file back if you need it.
Yeah.
If you don't need it, you can always delete it later.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, Jackie, we had a question about library, didn't we? Jackie?
Got to find it. Yes, no, sorry, I was just looking.
Okay. Yeah, because I remember somebody asked something about the storage box and library templates.
So it was Murray actually in New Zealand
thanks,
who
Murray.
said, can you give a quick run through of the storage box
Yeah.
and the use of the library in the storage box in relation to new projects, please?
Yeah, of course. Right. So your storage box is where all your templates go to live. As you can see, we've got 7 template one. This is template 1 of 7. And if I just quickly use the mouse here to cursor through, number 4 is red, number 5 is red, and all the others are blue. So all the others are blue, are in the storage box, but they're not active. You can't see them. They're not part of the current plan. So if I look at number 7, I now want to recover that from the storage box. So I can copy to background. That makes it red, and there it appears. And if I want to grab number 6 again, the point, I can copy to background, and there it is. So that's how we can look at things in the storage box. Selecting box, you can delete unused templates, you can delete library templates, you can copy all your unused templates to the background, you can rebuild all the background. There are various things you can play with in here. This is your files. So your file is when you've got a lot of templates together and you're happy with what you've done, you save them as a file. I haven't used transfer. Edit is to edit items. So you can edit the template name, or you can rebuild a template. I'm going to pass group at the moment because that's coming to something which is a little bit more involved. But into library, you can show library viewer. And this is when your screen starts to get cluttered up with all whole boxes and you decide, I need 2 screens or a much bigger screen. So this is where your library templates appear. So if I click on the point here and store as library, oh, that's not going right, is it? That's something else. See what happens. Okay, right, let's try this.
You're storing the control template there.
Yes, thank you, Martin.
Yes. If you want to convert there's a convert to library in the menu on the storage box on the storage box library menu.
Oh,
you want to convert a background.
Yeah,
template to a library template.
That one.
In the library menu there.
Oh, sorry.
There's convert
unused to library template.
Yeah.
Oh, white template from background before converting. I did it like this earlier. I just did a wipe to control and then store as library.
Well, you can do that.
Yeah. I just found that for me. I just found that easier for me. But obviously, it's another one where there are other ways of skinning the cat, isn't there?
Bear in mind, every time you use the control template for something, you're losing whatever you had in the control template previously.
Yes.
which you might have needed.
Yeah.
But if you go to those blue arrows at the top of the screen underneath shapes,
Yeah.
you can go backwards and forwards through
Yeah.
the last 80 control templates that you've been working
Yeah.
on. You can actually roll through them on the roll button on the mouse if you hold down Shift and Control, I think. Hold down Shift and Control and roll the mouse button. Does it go?
Yes. Yes, it does. Yeah.
Because there are 80 in there. It can take a while to keep clicking through.
Yeah. Yeah.
Find the one you wanted. But
Thankfully, I've never had to do that.
there are so many options that it's difficult
Yes.
to cover them all, and it's best to ignore some of them at
Yeah.
beginners because it just gets an overload of information.
Yeah. So we saw from Mary.
The library templates are where you've designed something in advance that you want to use over and over again.
Yeah. There's
no reason to put one odd template in the library that you're never going to use again, because it's not, there's no reason to do that.
Yeah, exactly. So if you knew you had a particular Great Western style point that you knew you were going to use multiple times, that you've stored or you've made specifically for your plan with sleeper spacings, then you can store it as a library template and it saves it there, doesn't it?
Yeah. If you copy it in from there to the control template, it will go back onto the trackpad at the it was the position it was at
when you'd stored it.
But if you use the library viewer and click on it, if you go into library and library viewer, show library viewer, if you click on it in the viewer, it will jump to the middle of the screen that you're working on.
Yeah.
So if you work in the middle of a large track plan, that's more convenient.
Which as you can see, as Martin's just said, those that are watching still, just clicking through the library, you can see that when I'm changing between these three pieces of track, the red peg where the piece of track is set in terms of its reference point, they're all going to the same place. Yeah,
it's the middle. Should be the middle of the screen.
Yeah, it is, Martin. Yes.
At least I think I did it that way.
Yes. So if I do that and then select the next one, it comes back to the center of my screen.
Yeah. Okay. Whereas if you do that directly from the storage box instead of the viewer, it will go
to where it was originally stored. Yes. So we can see it's disappeared now.
Yeah.
But if I just quickly go back to the storage box for those that are watching, you can see there we've got templates that are blue that are stored but not active. They're not on the within the template within the file.
They're called unused templates.
Unused, yeah. We've got the red ones which are active and used, and then your library templates appear green. So they're like a green color. So anything in your storage box that it comes up green, and it says, as you can see here, library template. Is that okay, Murray? Hopefully
my other question was, can you use on a new project, can you use the library for the new project, or do you have to start again?
Well, if you save a file, library templates will be in it. So if you reload that file, you will get the library template. So you just need to create a file that contains your library templates and load it at the start of the new project.
So I've just done that. So I've just saved the library templates, and if I go to Files, Load, Reload, Add from File, Add New Templates to Existing, and there's the library which I've just generated. Click Open. Oh, it was already there and not been added. Typical. Oh. But but that's the process. So you can see the process is there, and it does come up and say, "You've already got that one. You're an idiot," and I'll go and stick my head in another bucket. Yeah.
The point to bear in mind, if I can say this, is I've been using this for so long now that just about anything anybody wants to do, I've at some stage wanted to do myself and added it in somewhere into the program. So
yeah,
when someone says, "Can you do this or can you do that?" I just say yes without actually thinking about what they're asking, because unless they're doing something that I've never even thought of doing in 40 years, the answer will be yes. But it's not necessarily always easy or straightforward, or because I design it really for my own use, and so long as I can remember how to do something, the fact that it's a bit complicated doesn't always register.
Right.
It's quite difficult to do what you're doing, which is to explain it for beginners, because there is so much.
There is.
And there are no two beginners who want the same information.
Yes, exactly.
Some people want to produce Great Western chairs from 1927, July the 15th, and some people want to design Clapham Junction, and it's two different approaches, really.
It's, yeah, we'll come on to that in a minute, Martin. Or well, a few minutes, Martin. Okay. Well, probably about 10 or 15. Well, I'll show you a. Yeah, I think I've put it on Templot forum actually, but I'll show the other guys that are with us tonight something on not so much Clapham Junction, but something along those lines.
Your ship canal project. Yeah.
Well, there's that one, but there's Manchester Victoria and Exchange as well.
All right.
That's another project. Yeah.
I'm going to stop interrupting now because it's yours, not mine. Okay.
No, it is fine. Okay, thank you.
Ian, I've got a couple more for you.
Yes.
We've obviously covered Murray's questions about the library and new projects.
Yeah.
Does Templot handle switched point noise? And does Templot handle switch K crossing on diamond crossings?
Right, yes.
That's,
okay.
Dave Robinson asking those, please.
Yeah, I think the first one was switch crossing nose, not noise. But switch crossing nose. No. Switched diamond, yes, but I'll come on to that. I just quickly want to do this because there was a question before about clearances, wasn't there? So I can show with these two pieces of track that I've just done while Martin was just finishing off his little discourse there. If you go to utilities here, there is an option for dummy vehicle and spacing ring, and you get this box appears. And as you can see here now, bottom left, we have the outline of a vehicle as such, and we can move this along the track. Where is it? Where do I move it? Where do I move it? Move it. It's changed. It keeps changing. Roll. Yeah. Thank you, Martin. So now I can move it along the piece of track and put it somewhere, and I can. See, it's been so long since I've used this when I'm trying to find the things myself. It's stop, and
make a copy now. It's make one at the top of the copies.
Make one. Thank you. So that's make one. And if I program store, that becomes stored with the template, and you can see the outline of the vehicle there.
Just a correction, Ian. It's not stored with the template.
No, sorry. It's stored on the template's stored, and the dummy vehicle is stored on top of the template where you placed it.
Yeah, it's stored on the trackpad, but it's not permanent anyway.
It's not permanent, so you can because you can hide them, can't you? You can do that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to select this piece of track now, wipe to the control, and now we've got another vehicle. So if I roll this dummy vehicle, you can see here, oh dear, we're getting a collision. So this is where we have to start thinking about the length of our rolling stock, specifically like coaches or large bogie vehicles, and look at where we might have a clearance issue in terms of any possible crashes, effectively, isn't it, of two vehicles meeting. So the way around this is we can widen the spacing between the two pieces of track. So what I will do with this piece of track is I will just delete it for the moment, store as unused. And I'm going to select this piece of track again, wipe it to the control, and I just need to check which side we're going to. So we're going to go to the turnout side.
You didn't need to do that, Ian.
Did I not?
There's a menu option on the screen in front of you to adjust the adjacent centers.
Um,
To the left of roll dummy vehicle.
roll dummy vehicle.
So you can adjust.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Sorry.
Adjusted the two together while it was showing.
Let's go back to my box then. Copy to background. See, every day is a school day. That's stored. Let's try it again then, shall we? Adjacent track centers.
Which one are you on there?
That's.
Just use the mouse action on that button. I'm pointing to the screen here, but you can't.
I know. It's okay because I've been doing exactly the same. I've been pointing the screen here.
Stop.
Hold on. Let's see if will this work.
You don't need any of that.
Do I not? Okay. Sorry.
Go back to that button there to the left of roll dummy vehicle. That's a mouse action. Click that. And now use the mouse.
Oh.
And it will move the.
Oh, right. Sorry. My bad.
It will move the center line to.
Yeah.
So that you can see that you've got a clearance.
Yeah.
But you probably need. I think you need to use the other button for the main.
That one.
So you can adjust it until you can just see a clearance at the center.
Yeah.
There. And then it tells you what. Well, it will adopt that as the center line.
Center line when I do a store. So if I. I'll tell you what. Let's. Oh, that's done it. No, it hasn't. Where's the track? Let's start again.
Once you've adjusted it to what you want, use the make double track setting.
Oh, you do it after. Right. Okay. So let's turn outside.
Move that over like that.
Yeah. There we go.
And now use make double track.
Brilliant.
And then if you roll a dummy vehicle on that now, you'll see that it's
on the wrong track. Oh, it's because it's
click reset. There's a button there. Move the mouse up above the hide button. There's a reset normal track center line offset.
Above the hide button.
No, the hide at the bottom of that dialog on the right. Reset normal track center.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I was sorry. I was looking at that hide button. Sorry. See, there's two hides. That's where's Dr. Jekyll?
One is hiding the vehicle, the other is hiding the dialogue.
Okay. So you can.
That's now got you double track with the spacing that you need.
Yeah. Thank you, Martin. Yeah.
Without having to.
Yeah, you see, I'd have just done it the old-fashioned way of gone back and just changed the track center.
Well,
done it the other way. Yeah. Because it's like and for those still there, it's like Martin said, there are so many things that you forget about certain functionality of the software package because you might use it once every 2 or 3 years or less, and there's things in Templot that I haven't even used because I've not needed to use them. So looking at certain things, you come across and you're like, how do I do that? And then you find there's this sort of functionality in places to do things. Which makes it simpler. So you can adjust the clearance by moving one of the tracks to allow for your vehicles. And just quickly going back to the dummy vehicles themselves, you can actually look at the dimensions of the dummy vehicle here, and you can change the body length, you can change the overall width, you can change the bogie centers, and you can allow, there's the body side clearance allowance in inches, and the vehicle position on the template is just where it's lying. So if you know the actual physical dimensions of the vehicles that you're using, say, an LMS 57-foot stock, or a BR Mark 1 or London Northwestern 6-wheel dining car, you can input that data and you can roll it along your piece of track to make sure it doesn't impede another piece of rolling stock.
Okay, can I?
Yes, you can,
come back
Jackie.
in with John G has just said, going back to gradient transitions again.
Yeah.
And he apologizes for asking more questions.
No, it's fine.
There's no need to apologize, John, at all. How do you work out what lengths of track you need to allow to make a transition of, say, 15 degrees? Real life locos have individually sprung axles, so can accommodate a change in gradient fairly well, with models having unsprung axles. An 060 effectively becomes an 040.
Well, it's worse than that, because at some point it becomes an 020, because it'll rock on the center axle when you get to the top of any incline. Yeah, that's a good question.
I don't actually think it's anything that Templot can do.
No, it isn't.
Effectively, you could do it on 2D CAD. That is a possibility. What you need to do is calculate the curve, or the transition from flat to sloping, what that curve radius would be, such that on the way up, the center axle, the flanges don't leave the track. So you've basically got you're sitting on the front and rear axles of an 060. What's the middle axle doing?
Yeah.
And that will give you a maximum radius. So yeah, it's complex.
It is complex, and it's also difficult because even with a straight piece of track, if you're designing it on Templot, it's a case of you're doing it in 2D, and then if one end is elevated by 4 inches compared to the start, you've got to take into account that you've now got a longer length, haven't you? Because you've got the hypotenuse of the length and the height, and you've got to work out what the difference is. So you could measure the horizontal, and then measure what the climb is, and then work out what the hypotenuse is, because that's your actual length of track. But that still won't tell you or give you any indication or idea of how the gradient needs to start. I mean, I certainly wouldn't start with an angle, a sharp angle.
No.
Everything that we've done in Plan Y of the SR7mm Group layout, I made sure that we used reasonably thin ply, so it has got flex, and just let the wood make its own gradient, effectively, from where it's on the level to the gradient that we're working on. So it finds its own level, and then you just lay the track to that level. I'm just quickly, I can't actually.
You can do something in Templot, Ian.
Yeah.
Not part of the track planning.
Yeah.
But you can make it draw a side view of the
yes
situation. If you set center line only for the track, and then use the slew function, you can adjust. Go into
center line only. Yeah.
And go into geometry slew.
Yeah.
Use mode 2 for that.
Yeah.
You've got a side view, and it's telling you the length. You can adjust if you use Control F7 on the keyboard, I think. You can, if you now use the mouse, you can move it up and down to various.
Yeah.
and
So you
got-
can say, yeah, so you're doing basically a plan view of the track.
a
Oh,
sort
sorry,
of
an elevation view
side-
of what the
side
track
view,
is.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And if you change the length, if you bring the length in, so that it's on the screen there, you've got a length button there. You don't need to go in the menu.
Oh, sorry. Yes, of course. Yes. Sorry. Yeah.
You shorten that a bit. You can see it now. If you go back to Control F7, just click the backspace key on the keyboard. There you are. You'll see that the length.
Yes.
Yeah. If you move the mouse now, if you adjust that with the mouse now, you'll see the length shortens or
Yeah.
as you change the amount.
Yeah. It shows you how much larger or effectively smaller it's getting, isn't it?
Yeah, and if you put the information box on, which is press F2.
Oh, where's it gone?
Press F2.
I did.
Oh, I don't know where it's gone. You moved it off somewhere, have you? There we are. If you expand that, it'll show you the length changing as you, or the length. Somewhere down there is the template length.
Oh, it's all right. I'll get that back.
Yeah, you can see it changing.
Somewhere near the bottom, I think. It says total length. Oh,
There's
somewhere in there, there's a length. Overall length.
overall length.
Yeah. And then you can compare that with the grid to see how much difference it's making.
Yeah, that overall length isn't changing there, Martin.
No, well, the overall length of the template isn't changing.
Oh, of course, yes. Sorry, it's the
But
slew.
you can then lengthen it to fit the grid, and you've seen the difference
Yes.
that you need.
Yeah.
If you move a large amount like that, go right down the bottom there. So
Yeah. So now you need to.
Now you make a note of the length that you've got, which is 1430.29.
Yeah.
And now use the length adjustment to extend it to meet the grid and wherever you where you started from. You've got a new length, and subtracting one from the other tells you the difference you need.
Yeah.
Produce that curve. If you get rid of the information box so we can see all the curve, there's an adjustment for the slope and the radius. If you go into action, control geometry, action control geometry, right down at the bottom somewhere, adjust mode 2 slew factor, down 2 more, adjust mode 2 slew factor. Now you can change the shape of that curve.
Yes.
Smooth out or go. So it's
so you can change the gradient, effectively changing the gradient profile, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's intended for designing the 2D track, of course, but using this side view, you can get an idea of what to do with the
gradient,
vertical curve.
Yeah. So that's really good, actually, Martin. So hopefully that answers the questions, that you can use this function to look at the gradient that you can use. So if you're looking at the length of track along the bottom here, we can visualize that this is our piece of track that we're going to lay on the gradient, and the white line above is showing us what the gradient will be, or what we can make the gradient. And then we work out what the length of the rail or length of the track needs to be for that length of gradient, that height, or that gradient change.
That's right. You strayed rather a long way from a beginner introduction.
Yes, we have, haven't we? But we'll have to do this. We'll have to do this on another evening where there's something
That's
like
right.
part 3. Yeah, how to do gradients.
Well, you need part 297 if you can.
Yeah, okay. That's a lot of years.
I think we've heard that that's going to be a combination of trial, error, some sort of CAD work, and Steve Bannister said you need some trigonometry as well.
Yes.
And then a member has also said, surely at the shallow gradients we use, all you have to do is allow a few extra millimeters on each section of track
Yeah.
that's going to be laid. So I think, you know, there are extremes here that we may.
There are, yes, there are. I mean, when I did, when I did Plan Y on Templot for the SR7mm Group, I didn't actually need to adjust any track lengths to take into account the gradients that we had, because the gradient changes weren't that great, and they were over quite decent lengths. I mean, the loop lines that anybody who's watched the videos that Peter Reynolds has made of the railway, or the photographs that are on the forum, you'll have seen, you know, the loop lines as they disappear. The steepest gradient on there, I think, is 1 in 76, and I didn't really have to take into account any additional length of track because it was such a short length that was needed to be added, because the templates only really were for in the interior of the shed. When the track went outside into, you know, the rest of the gardens, the open world, there was no templates there, so we were just laying to the baseboards, so it wasn't really that much of an issue. So the gradients are something to take into account, but I think, you know, as I say, was it Steve Bannister mentioned that there's not that big a difference compared to what you will design on Templot and what will happen in reality, because you'll probably find that you can cut a template and then just fill in with the track when you're building. You know, if you've got a length of a gradient and it's all on one piece of paper, and you find, oh, you know, it's a bit tight or there's something not right here, you just slice the template where it's on the gradient, top and bottom, for example, and you just build the track and just add an extra sleeper in, or you know, just make a piece of track slightly longer, or just adjust the sleeper spacing.
Okay, I think we need to move on because I'm conscious of time, and it's
now it's fine.
10. Steve did say that, Steve Bannister, that is, that he has to admit it's probably going to be trial and error testing ahead of construction. And John G has said that that's really helpful. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
And then another member said the inverse cosine is a trigonometry function if you actually want it. So, okay. So as time's marching on, what else do you need to cover, Ian?
I think in terms of the basic stuff, I think we've covered the basic stuff. I mean, just want to show people that, you know, just getting some lengths of track in Templot and joining them together, and, you know, getting a point and just putting a point together is not that difficult. And it's one of those things, like I said, that once you get used to it and you start to understand it, it becomes easier because it becomes second nature. It's like driving a ar. When you first start driving a car, you're all, you know, well, feet and hands. I was going to say finger and thumbs, but you're kind of like, it's an alien environment to you. It's not something you're comfortable with. It's not something you're familiar with. Once you start taking, you know, your lessons and doing more and more lessons, you get to the point of being ready for your test. You're more comfortable driving, and the more you drive, the more comfortable you are, and the more familiar you are with your surroundings. And it's the same with Templot. It's the same with Fusion 360, 3D CAD package. You know, it's the same with anything like that, where you're learning new skills and learning how to do something new. If we just go back to the other question about switch crossings, etc. I'll make a point. New template. I'll make a nice C8 point straight. Okay, so we've got a nice 1 in 8 point here with C switchblades that are C-type switchblades, so they're a nice long switchblade. And we're going to convert this into a diamond crossing. So if I go to Tools and Make Diamond Crossing, you can see now on my screen I've got 2 halves of a diamond crossing. Got the active, live, used piece and the stored piece. I now want to make this a switched diamond. So if I go to Reel, I can go to the K crossings, movable K crossing switched diamond, and you can see this side now has got switched diamonds, it's switched blades. Now this side hasn't. So if I store this one and then wipe this one to the control, I can do exactly the same thing. Real, K-crossing option, movable K-crossing, switch diamond, program, store on background, and there you are. Very quickly, one very quick switched diamond for those of you that want to build some switch diamonds. Switch diamonds were mainly introduced, I think the first one was introduced by the LNER in 1936, and they were used on...
They were much earlier than that, Ian.
Was it?
On the North Eastern Railway, yeah.
Oh, really? I thought the first...
way back before the First World War.
Oh, really? Okay. I thought the first one was 36. That's interesting. They were nominally used on crossings that had a crossing V, crossing V shallower than 1 in 8, because it was found that on really shallow diamond crossings there was a tendency, even with the check rails, for them wheel sets to go the wrong side just because it was such a shallow angle. So that's a switched diamond for you. The same question about the switched crossing nose. There's one for you, Martin. That's the next thing to develop.
Yeah, but not for bullhead, and I'm
No.
really only sticking with bullhead nowadays.
Yeah.
It's just too much change and development going on.
Yeah, it'd be too much to do, wouldn't it? Yeah.
I'm waiting for someone else to write the Son of Templot program that covers all of flat bottom, because I'm just too old to do it now.
Yeah. Okay.
What I might just add is the 1 in 8 limit. In other words, if it's flatter than 1 in 8, it must be a switch diamond. Applies to a straight diamond.
Yeah.
If it's curved, it needs to be.
It comes down. Yeah.
Comes down, and of course, what you just did there, you were working with a straight diamond, but it all works just exactly the same if you'd started with a curved one.
Yeah.
But you would need movable diamonds on a smaller angle.
Yes. Yeah.
If you go into the help somewhere in Templot, there is a list of which angles and where. If you go into real, K crossing option. Oh, I can't remember now.
Language, Timothy.
K crossings help. If you go down to K crossings help.
There you go.
And then there's the list.
Yeah.
There's the list of radius, the flattest angle for a fixed K crossing.
Yeah.
And as you can see, as the radius reduces, you have to go right down to a 1 in 6.
Yeah.
For
the switch. Yeah.
For the switch diamond.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
There's quite a lot of information like that in Templot if you go looking for it, but
there is. Yeah. Right. I'm just before we finish, then I'm going to quickly show what you can do with Templot. Get rid of those.
One quick question from Emma. What's the difference between delete to the control and wipe to the control in the storage box, please?
Oh, I'll let Martin answer that one.
Well, I've written about this at great length over the years, that if you delete to the control, the template no longer exists in the storage box. So unless you store it again, you have lost it. If you wipe to the control, it becomes unused in the storage box, so that if you need it again, you could go back and get it. But I can't answer that in a few sentences. So I've written all about it in the help and on the Templot forum. And if anyone has got some questions, all you've got to do is ask on the Templot Club forum, and I'll try to answer it and provide links to where the answers are.
Yeah, I will say that
it's a bit difficult to explain the entire functioning of the program in a quick answer on here.
Yeah.
But there is a page in the Templot companion website all about the origins and intent of how Templot works. If you read through that, it answers a lot of your questions. I'll see if I don't know if I can put it on my screen for you.
Don't worry, Martin, because we can put this on the forum.
Yeah, okay.
We can put stuff like that on the forum.
Good heavens, what's that?
Right. Yeah. Okay. Good heavens. Yeah. So this is Plan Y for the SR7mm Group. So but basically, this going back to the question about gradients, you can see here what I've done. These are the loop lines that I was mentioning earlier. So where these lines go underneath other lines, I've removed the sleepers to show that they're underneath the other tracks. So we have these three lines come out of Southwark and Bermondsey, which is in one of the old shed. These two lines here are the Smithfield high-level lines that go into the other side of the old shed, and these are the Great Victoria Street low-level lines that go into the same side of that shed. They all come together and meet at this junction, go through Coulsdon, continue on, separate. Then the two centre lines are the loop lines that drop down on the 1 in 100 gradient and disappear underneath, then come back up the other side. And the two outer lines come back into the new shed, come round and into Bexhill terminus. So this is something I spent quite a while working on Templot, because I had to do this from scratch and work it out in terms of what I could squeeze into the building that was being built at the time. And I couldn't have actually, I don't think I could have done this without Templot, to be honest. So the planning for this started in 2012. And I think I laid the first piece of track on the 1st of January 2013. You can see that we have a nice complex formation here, all on the curves. There's no straight points in here at all. And like I say, without Templot, I wouldn't have been able to design this as quickly or as easily or work it out as elegantly as we've been able to.
That's amazing, Ian.
Thank you.
Yeah, I get a funny feeling when I see something like that and realise it's all come from what I started dabbling with 40 years ago.
Yeah.
I never would have believed that it would have got to that stage.
Well, like I said, the other one.
Oh, the ship canal one.
No. Oh no. Well, it says ship canals on Templot forum, isn't it? No, I'm going to go to I'm going to go here and here, and this is what crashed Templot earlier on. Unfortunately, when it loads, there you go. Manchester Victoria and Manchester Exchange in scale 7.
And have you got a shed big enough for that?
No, it's just one of those, it's one of those far-reaching, I'll just see what Templot can do and what I can plan. So this is the same thing. I had the plan for both stations, and I've done all of this on Templot. So it just shows you the power of the program that Martin's developed and that we can use to build, or at least design. Who's going to build it? At least design our model railways.
Yeah, you're probably finding Templot's quite slow when you're moving around on there.
Oh yeah, but it takes a while, and then it does things like this, and you lose it.
There is a way to make it a lot faster.
Right.
If you just select which area you want to actually look at.
Yeah.
It will only draw those templates on the screen, and then you can move around much more quickly.
Yeah. But
I don't think a beginner is going to need that just yet.
No, they're not going to need this either. But this is still a work in progress. There's something I was doing just for myself, just as a one of those things you can do.
Just because you can.
Just because you can, yeah. Before I started playing with Fusion 360 and stuff.
Are there any tools, Ian, for third rail?
Tools in terms of.
Andrew Taylor was asking. Andrew, if you want to unmute and ask specifics, please do.
Yeah. Really.
Hi, Andrew.
To help with placement of third rail.
I know that there is a new etch being drawn and waiting to be signed off for a new guild track jig, and that has got up-to-date position dimensions on for where third rail goes in relationship to your stock rails. So that is in development. I think we're just waiting for that artwork to go to the etchers to be produced, and will then be available via the guild shop.
James, have you got an update on that?
You're muted,
What?
James.
Hey?
The new guild track gauge with the third rail spacing and the buffer spacing and stuff.
Yeah, it's ready to go. It's just
Like Chris Simpson is holding up. That's the old one, isn't it, Chris? Yeah.
Yeah.
Although we can't see that because I'm on spotlight, probably. Oh, actually, hold on. Sorry.
that one there.
Yeah, where's mine? Oh, I've got one somewhere and it's not in my box.
James,
Yeah.
I've spotlighted you as well, so you can hold it up as well. And Ian and
Okay.
you are both on spotlight now.
Okay.
Yeah.
We do
So-
have a guild that does have the third rail.
Is that the new one?
Yes, it is.
Yes, brilliant. Yeah, because the old one, the dimensions for the third rail on the old one weren't correct.
Yeah, we have corrected them.
Yeah, but you've also got to take into account that there were differences in where certain railways place third rail, and it's also dependent upon what the prototype was.
Okay.
So they're not all the same. The majority of the British Railways third rail is the same. London Underground was slightly different, and then there were other minor lines that had a different positioning. So the Manchester to Bury line, for example, from 1916, because it was third rail side contact, the third rail was in a different position to third rail with a top contact and a shoe.
Okay. So how soon is that going to be available for Andrew Taylor, who was asking the question, James?
Well, that's a very good question. Yeah, I don't know. It could be available within a week or two.
Okay, so hopefully that will be something for you to use, Andrew.
Yeah.
Okay, there's some lovely comments coming in. Lots of people saying thank you very much. Alex Dent says he thinks your layout templates are absolutely amazing.
Thank you, Alex.
And Steve Bannister saying that, you know, a big thank you to Martin for developing the amazing program and making it available to all the modelers. It
Yeah,
can be
definitely.
used simply.
Definitely.
And as Ian has shown, it can be used simply or for complex track work. So beginners should not be discouraged from having a go. And I think that's the thing. If you do play is the wrong word, but almost it is, you know, have a go and try everything and see how you get on.
I mean, just reiterating on that, I say when I first got Templot 1997 or 1998, you know, it came on a disc from Martin with some basic instructions, and you put it in your machine and you downloaded it and away you went. And yeah, it was uphill. It was very steep. And in the early days, and Martin will attest to this, you know, building something like an outside slip, well, not even an outside slip, a single slip or a double slip was much more difficult, because the way Martin has developed the software now, it's very easy to do double slip. It's clicking, you know, you just select, whereby before you had to build it up as separate templates. So, you know, we're grateful for Martin for his continued development of it, because without it the way it is now, it's such an elegant package to use. Once you become familiar with it and get to know it and get to use it on a regular basis, it becomes intuitive. I mean, other people have said it's counterintuitive, but I found it very easy to work with, and it kind of like, it just clicked with how my mind works and how I can work with things. So yeah, certainly thank you to Martin for being involved tonight and helping us, and also for continuing to develop Templot on our behalf.
A couple
Yeah,
more.
well, thank you for that. I'm getting a bit long in the tooth, really. To I get in a bit of a muddle and I keep forgetting things, but I do enjoy doing the coding, and
Yeah.
I'll carry on doing what I can. At the moment, I'm mainly involved in what I call the plug track, which is developing the exports for 3D printing.
Yeah.
And not only 3D printing of the chairs in resin and the timbers in filament, but also there's the option to laser cut the timbers, which the resin chairs can then plug into. And also there's the option of CNC milling the timbers, which I quite like, and I'm going to develop that more, but there's a long way to go yet.
Yeah.
You can actually export all the files you need to 3D print plain track in bullhead at the moment, if anyone wants to experiment with that.
I mean, I would certainly recommend anybody that is interested in building track or looking at using Templot to join Templot forum, Martin's forum pages, because it's a mine of information, and there's so many other helpful Templot users that are on there as well, giving advice and help to other Templot users. And if anybody has any questions or wants to know anything about Templot from me, then just message me by the forum. I'm happy to answer questions and help if I can. And that's what we're here for at the end of the day, isn't it? To help each other.
That's right. There was a couple of recommendations about useful sources of information earlier, just before we finish. So James Lucas said another good book by the 2mm Society is called Track and How It Works and How to Build It. And Andrew Jones has mentioned PWI has published a book on the railway track since its inception. So they've obviously got a very, very good source.
Yeah.
And Ian Rice, Wild Swan Making a 4mm Track is also very useful for people.
Yeah.
So lots.
Slater. Sorry, I was going to say, sorry, Jackie. Slater's also did a book a while ago about Great Western Track. I don't know if that's still available. So that's another option to look at, whether Slater still do their book on building track, which is
the Great Western Study Book still do their book on track as well.
Yeah.
Which is available from Steve Manship.
Yeah, there is information out there. It's just one of those things where if you're interested in a particular prototype or a particular railway, then it's just a case of looking for it. I couldn't answer every question on where do you find information, because there are so many different sources for so many different railways.
Yeah.
But it is out there. It's just a case of just hunting around. But the PWI is a good starting point.
Yeah, if anybody's going to the EM Gauge meeting in Bracknell, I think the Great Western Study Group have got a stand there, so you can buy the track book there.
Brilliant.
Thank you. For Graham MacArthur's benefit and everybody else, all of our evening widths do go onto YouTube. They are videoed. They're available to members for the first month, and then it will go onto YouTube 1 month after the actual airing of the live session. And it's usually available as a video to watch in about a week's time. It just depends how long it takes us to actually transfer the recording and then actually do some work on it and make it available. But we'll get that out to everybody as soon as possible. Okay, I want to say a huge thank you to you, Ian, and to Martin for being with us and for chipping in with all the tips and lots of shortcuts. And the track building and Templot support and special interest group is ongoing. So also, if you've got things that you would like people to actually share in the future at track building sessions, please do contact Ian, and I'm sure he would be able to do that. Ian, are you screen sharing something?
Yes, so just a final, this is the station throat at Bexhill that you saw on the plan earlier during its installation and ballasting. So it just shows you what you can build. I mean, Jackie knows, Jackie's seen it and she's seen the track work.
It's an amazing layout. Okay. I'll just give you some highlights of what's happening next time. So I think we have Steve Hother with us still, but if I just go to screen share and let you know what's happening next month. So let me just go into slideshow and play from the start. Okay,
would you like to take me off spotlight, Jackie?
Are you still on Spotlight? Sorry, I haven't got you down as on Spotlight. Let me take that off. Can everybody see that now?
Yeah, I can see you.
So our next An Evening With is planned for Thursday, the 26th of May, 2022. And Steve Hother has kindly agreed to tell us about scratch building diesel locos. And there will be a video coming out soon after the date when you register to show you a baby Deltic, which was his latest project, in motion with sound, and some of his other locomotives. So if you're interested in scratch building diesel locomotives, it's an ideal session for you to join. Booking will start from just after midnight tonight, and you will get a reminder when the video is available to watch, and also nearer the time, so that you don't forget to join us. We all put things in our diary and then busy lives, and you suddenly think, oh, forgot to go. If we just remind you as well of our live events, summer show coming up on the 11th of June. That's a week later than normal because we decided we shouldn't clash with the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. So we're Saturday, June the 11th. This is for 1 year only in terms of the delay. We'll be back to the first weekend in June in 2023. But we've got a good selection of layouts, traders, demonstrators and societies joining us at the Dome in Doncaster. And of course, the flyers for 2022 have all been published, and we're looking forward to Stafford as a new venue for Guildex 2022. And obviously that's a new venue, 2-day show. And a lot of new opportunities there. We've got space to have some seminars. We have got space for the special interest groups to meet so that people can gather together and, you know, have a chat about problems they might be having with track building or CAD work or 3D printing. So again, you know, we'll try and make sure that there is some opportunities to have seminars and workshops, get help from the technical team and the loco clinic, and also have time to chat about any special interests. For those of you who are non-members, and there were quite a few who joined us tonight, if you do want to actually join the Guild and you're not quite sure about all the benefits that it offers, there is an opportunity to do a free 1-month trial. And that'll give you sign in to the full Guild website. You'll be able to explore the latest Gazette and Guild news online. You'll be able to look at the Gazette archives and the wiki, which is our knowledge base. It's everything you could possibly want to know about O-gauge modelling. It's like an encyclopedia. And we have traders listing, product directories, the Guild YouTube channel, gallery, forthcoming events, and a huge forum which has discussion groups on probably every aspect of modelling in 7mm that you could want. So it's a great source of getting advice and support from other members. So if you're not sure whether the Guild will give you everything you want, sign up for a free 1-month trial, and you know, you will have complete access to the website and be able to have a really good look around before you convert to full membership. If you do want full membership, we have rolling membership. So if you join today, then your renewal would be in 12 months' time. So you get a full 12 months when you join us. And then if you do want to join online, it's very simple. You go to the Guild website, press join online under About Us, and then you get the option at the bottom of either a full adult, student, overseas, or a free 1-month membership. So it's all there and very simple to do. So thank you again to Ian and to Martin for joining us. And of course, there's no point having these evenings if we don't have an audience. So thank you very, very much to everybody who came this evening, to James and Richard for helping with the evening. And we'll see you again on Thursday, the 26th of May for an evening about building diesel locos from scratch. And thank you, Steve Hoser, for agreeing to do that. I know you're still in the audience somewhere. Thank you to everybody, and we'll see you all next month. Thanks, Ian.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Thank you.
Here's little Bill and Ben.